All right, so welcome to our deep dive today. We are going to be looking at the Q3 FY25 earnings call transcript
Okay.
for PCBL Chemical Limited, or should I say CCBL Chemical Limited?
Yeah, they did a little name change there. Yeah.
Quite a change.
Seems like they're really trying to push beyond just the carbon black
Exactly.
into kind of a specialty chemicals market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what we are going to be looking at in this deep dive. So we'll be analyzing their recent performance, their future plans, and overall outlook to see if they really are transforming or, are they just riding the carbon black wave?
Yeah.
So first off, their carbon black business seems to be thriving. They reported over 5% year-over-year growth in consolidated sales volume, reaching a whopping 90% capacity utilization
Yeah.
in a challenging microenvironment, no less, as they put it.
Oh, yeah.
So what is fueling this success?
Well, a couple of things stand out to me.
Okay.
I think one, strong demand from the tire industry is a major factor, particularly with global tire demand, projected to stay strong. I think the outlook there is pretty good. And then I think also they've been smart about, expanding their capacity, like commissioning that new specialty line in Mundra,
Okay.
taking their total capacity to 790,000 tons per year.
They are not stopping there. They snagged a 116-acre plot in Andhra Pradesh for a new greenfield expansion.
Oh, wow.
That'll be their sixth manufacturing site.
Wow.
So it seems they're really laser focused on hitting that 1 million ton capacity mark.
Okay.
But impressive numbers aside, did this translate into actual profit?
Absolutely, yeah. Their consolidated revenue from operations charted by 21% year over year, reaching 2,100 crore rupees.
Yeah.
What's interesting here is this growth rate is significantly higher than the industry average, so it really suggests that. CTBL is grabbing market share of their EBITDA, which is essentially a measure of profitability, also saw a healthy 15% increase for the same period.
Okay, so they're growing, they're profitable, but what about those ventures beyond carbon black? Any updates on those?
This is where things get intriguing. They're making a serious push into aquafarm chemicals.
Okay.
So that's water treatment and disease prevention for aquaculture. It's a bold move to diversify their portfolio.
Aquafarm chemicals, so that's quite a leap from tires. How is that strategy playing out? Is it contributing to their bottom line yet?
It's a bit of a mixed bag, I would say.
Okay.
They're facing headwinds from fierce competition, especially from Chinese players. And then overall demand in the sector is somewhat subdued.
Ah, the China challenge. But it seems they're taking a proactive approach, focusing on operational efficiency and broadening their customer base. They're not shying away from the fight. Speaking of positive news, can we talk about that eye-popping 550% interim dividend?
Oh, yeah.
They announced, talk about sharing the wealth. This must be a good sign for investors.
It's certainly caught my attention.
Yeah.
It's a strong signal of confidence in their financial strength. But, this impressive dividend payout also raises questions about their long-term debt management, especially with all these expansion plans.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not all smooth sailing, right? Every
Yeah.
company has its challenges. What are some of the key hurdles CCBL highlighted in their call?
Well, they pointed to fluctuations in crude oil prices as a major factor impacting their carbon black realizations.
Okay.
Their primary raw material is derived from crude oil.
Right.
So those price swings directly hit their margins. The classic challenge for commodity-driven businesses.
The ripple effect of volatile commodity prices makes sense. Anything else keeping them up at night?
Well, the aquafarm chemicals business, as we discussed, is facing stiff competition. Additionally, they specifically mentioned inventory pileups in Europe due to the sanctions on Russia and Belarus.
Right. The sanctions, how are those playing out for them? Are they a blessing or a curse?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
On one hand, European customers who relied on Russian carbon black are now open to sourcing from CCBL, so that's more business for them. But on the other hand, sanctioned Russian carbon black is finding its way into markets like India through unofficial channels, putting downward pressure on prices. So it creates this complex situation where they're gaining customers,
Yeah.
but also facing unexpected competition.
A real global chess game. So it's not a clear win. It's fascinating how geopolitical events can directly impact a business like this. But let's shift gears and talk about the future. What are some of their strategic initiatives for, conquering the chemical market?
Well, they've outlined some ambitious plans.
Okay.
They're going big on brownfield expansion in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
The first phase is complete. And the second phase, which includes a 60,000-ton capacity increase and a 12-megawatt green power plant is in full swing.
Wow, that's a significant capacity boost. And the green power plant is a smart move, aligning with their sustainability initiatives.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, they mention a new Ecogen-grade carbon black, made from recycled materials, impressive. But they're not just expanding capacity, are they? They're also developing new specialty lines.
Absolutely. One of their new lines focuses on conductive plastics and batteries, positioning them for growth in emerging sectors like electric vehicles and renewable energy. It's a forward-thinking approach, tapping into sectors expected to boom in the coming years.
Smart move, getting on the ground floor of those high-growth industries. What about the Aquafarm Chemicals expansion? Any updates there?
They're on track to commission a new facility by March 2025, which will significantly boost their production capacity. So while they're facing challenges, they're clearly committed to this venture.
So they're facing headwinds, but still pushing full steam ahead. That takes guts. What else is on their radar?
They briefly mentioned their nanosilica project,
Okay.
which has the potential to generate significant revenue in the coming years. They're placing orders for pilot plant equipment, with commissioning expected the next few months.
A pilot plant, so that means it's still early days. But it sounds promising. It seems like they have a lot of irons in the fire. With all this expansion and new ventures, what's their overall outlook for the future?
They're very optimistic, especially about the tire industry. They see growth driven by factors like rising income levels, urbanization and infrastructure development, particularly in India, where vehicle penetration is still relatively low.
More cars on the road, more tires, needed more business for CCBL. I like it. But all this expansion, new ventures, has to be costing a fortune. What about their debt situation?
They address that directly,
Yeah.
reassuring investors about their commitment to deleveraging. Over the next 7 to 8 years, they're focused on using their cash flow to pay down debt and reduce their overall borrowing costs.
That's reassuring to hear. It shows they're thinking about long-term financial health, not just chasing growth at any cost.
Exactly. Their debt-to-EBITDA ratio is already improving,
Yeah.
and they expect it to fall even further in the coming years.
So it seems like they're walking a tightrope, balancing ambitious growth plans with responsible financial management. It'll be interesting to see how they navigate this delicate balance in the coming years.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating case study of a company in transition, trying to carve out a new identity while capitalizing on their existing strength. This raises an important question. Can CCBL successfully manage this balancing act and emerge as a dominant force in the specialty chemicals market?
That's a great point. There's much more to unpack here. Stay tuned because in the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve deeper into CCBL's strategy, exploring their expansion plans, their approach to sustainability, and the potential challenges they might face along the way. We'll also analyze their long-term prospects and try to answer that big question: can they truly become a leader in the specialty chemical space? We'll be right back.
So welcome back.
We left off discussing CCBL's ambitious growth plans and their efforts to balance that with financial prudence.
Right.
One thing that stood out to me in the earnings call transcript was the level of detail they provided about their carbon black pricing strategy. They talked about formulas, variable cost pass-throughs, and maintaining margins in a volatile market.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a head spinner,
Yeah.
to be honest. But it's fascinating to get a glimpse into, the complexities
Yeah.
of those pricing negotiations, especially in the international market.
Yeah.
It seems like a constant dance between protecting their margins and staying competitive.
Right.
Yeah.
And they seem to be navigating it skillfully, especially given the external factors at play. Remember how we discussed Russian carbon black
Right.
entering markets despite sanctions?
Huh.
That's adding another layer of complexity to
Yeah.
their pricing strategy. Right?
Absolutely.
It creates this push and pull where they gain customers in some regions, but face unexpected competition in others.
Yeah, it's a reminder of how interconnected those global markets are and how events on the other side of the world can directly impact a business like CCBL.
Yeah. It really highlights the need for flexibility and adaptability in their strategy.
Definitely.
But speaking of challenges, we also touched on the competitive pressures
Right.
they're facing in the aquafarm chemicals market. How do they plan to overcome those hurdles, especially from those aggressive Chinese players?
Yeah, well, they didn't shy away from the difficulties, but they seem determined to play the long game in this market.
Okay.
They're focusing on building their brand reputation, expanding their product portfolio, and targeting new customer segments. So it sounds like they're laying the groundwork for long-term success.
Okay, so a more long-term play.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not something that they can, just jump into and dominate right away.
Right, they're not going to win overnight, but a strategic, long-term approach could pay off.
And I'm guessing those expansion plans, especially the one in Tamil Nadu, will play a key role in their strategy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that added capacity is going to be crucial
Mm.
for ramping up production and meeting the anticipated demand, not just for carbon black, but also for, these new ventures like aquafarm chemicals.
Okay.
Plus, you got that green power plant that's a smart move,
Yeah.
reducing their environmental impact and controlling energy costs simultaneously.
It ticks a lot of boxes. Increased capacity, sustainability, cost management.
It's a clear indication of their forward-thinking approach. And speaking of future-proofing, we touched on their nanosilica project,
Yes.
which is still in its early stages. What makes this venture so promising?
Well, the market for nanosilica is experiencing rapid growth. It has applications in a wide range of industries, from tires and paints to electronics and even medicine. So it's
Wow.
a very versatile material, huge potential, and CCBL seems to be positioning itself to capitalize on that growth.
That's a smart bet on an emerging market.
Yeah.
It shows they're not afraid to diversify and explore new avenues for growth.
Right.
And it ties into another point. We discussed their commitment to financial prudence. You know, they're clearly not just throwing money at every shiny new opportunity. They're balancing their investments in growth with a clear focus on managing debt
Hmm.
and ensuring long-term financial stability.
Right. That commitment to deleveraging over the next 7 to 8 years is a big deal. It shows they're thinking about sustainable growth, not just short-term gains.
And that's a message that resonates with investors who are looking for companies with a long-term vision.
Right.
It's not just about growth at any cost. It's about responsible, sustainable growth that creates value for all stakeholders.
Absolutely. And that brings us back to the central question. Can CCBL, with their ambitious plans and diversified approach, truly become a dominant player in the specialty chemicals market?
It's a bold question. I mean, they're certainly making the right moves, but as we discussed, they face several challenges: volatile commodity prices, fierce competition, and the ever-changing global landscape. How they navigate these challenges will determine their ultimate success.
You're absolutely right. It's a complex journey with no guaranteed outcomes. But in the final part of our deep dive, we'll delve deeper into these challenges, explore their potential impact, and analyze CCBL's strategies for mitigating them. We'll also examine their long-term prospects and try to answer that crucial question. Can they truly become a leader in the specialty chemicals market? Stay with us.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into CCBL. We've covered their impressive growth, their strategic moves, and their commitment to sustainability, but as with any ambitious journey, there are challenges ahead.
Right.
We were just discussing how factors like volatile commodity prices and fierce competition could impact CCBL's path to becoming a leader in the specialty chemicals market.
Yeah, those are definitely significant hurdles. Their reliance on crude oil derivatives makes them vulnerable to those price fluctuations, which can directly impact their margins.
Right.
So they'll need to find ways to mitigate that risk, perhaps through hedging strategies or diversifying their raw material sources. Okay, makes sense. And what about the competitive landscape? We talked about the pressure they're facing in the aquafarm chemicals market,
Right.
particularly from Chinese players. How can they differentiate themselves and carve out a strong position in this crowded space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's not enough to simply expand capacity. They'll need to build a strong brand reputation, emphasize quality and innovation, and provide exceptional customer service.
Hmm.
They might also consider strategic partnerships or even acquisitions to strengthen their market presence.
So it sounds like they need a multi-pronged approach to stay ahead of the competition.
Yeah.
But there's another factor we haven't discussed in detail: the rapid pace of technological change. The chemical industry is constantly evolving, with new materials and processes emerging all the time. How can CCBL ensure they don't fall behind in this innovation race?
That's a crucial point, I think.
Yeah.
They'll need to invest heavily in research and development, stay abreast of industry trends, and be willing to embrace new technologies. Their nanosilica project is a good example of their commitment to innovation. But they'll need to maintain that momentum across their entire portfolio.
So it seems like constant adaptation and evolution are key to long-term success in this industry.
Absolutely.
But even with the best strategies in place, there are always external factors that can disrupt even the most carefully laid plans. We saw how geopolitical events like the sanctions on Russia and Belarus
Right.
impacted their business. What other global uncertainties could pose challenges for CCBO?
Well, geopolitical risks are always a concern. For global businesses, I mean trade wars, political instability,
Mm.
unforeseen disruptions to supply chains, all these things can have a significant impact.
Right.
CCBL will need to maintain a flexible and agile approach, be prepared to adjust their strategies as needed, and diversify their operations to minimize their exposure to any single region or market.
It's a reminder that in today's interconnected world, businesses need to be nimble and adaptable to thrive. But despite these potential challenges, CCBL seems to be taking the right steps to mitigate risks and position themselves for success.
I agree. They've demonstrated a clear understanding of their market, their strengths, and the challenges they face. Their commitment to sustainability, financial prudence, and innovation suggests they're building a solid foundation for the future.
It's been a fascinating deep dive, exploring CCBL's journey from a carbon black specialist to a company with a broader vision for the future. They've clearly outlined their ambitions to become a dominant force in the specialty chemicals market. But as we've discussed, the path ahead is not without its challenges.
True, but their proactive approach, strategic investments,
Yeah.
and commitment to responsible growth, gives them a fighting chance. It'll be fascinating to see how they navigate the complexities of the global market and whether they can ultimately achieve those ambitious goals.
It's a journey worth watching, and for you, dear listener, we hope this deep dive has provided you with a deeper understanding of CCBL's current position, their future plans, and the broader trends shaping the specialty chemicals industry. Remember, knowledge is power. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep learning.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll uncover a hidden gem like CCBL and witness its transformation firsthand.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.